Have you ever wondered if growing older is truly the slow fading of noisy sounds, or if it is actually the beginning of a deeper and more radiant relationship with yourself? What if the happiness you have been tirelessly searching for in achievements, in the recognition of others, or in roles of responsibility, has actually been waiting silently all along right inside your heart? The truth is, most of us were never taught how to enjoy our own company. We spend our lives caring for others, working hard, and keeping ourselves busy to feel useful. But very few people learn how to sit with themselves in silence, how to savor solitude instead of fearing it, and how to find wholeness without relying on the presence or applause of anyone. Stepping past the age of 60, a new chapter truly unfolds. This is when the relationship with yourself becomes the most important companionship. The teachings of the Buddha remind us that true happiness does not come from outer conditions, but blossoms from self-awareness and self-compassion. This is an opportunity for you to rediscover yourself, shedding the layers of obligation and expectation. Take a deep breath. Let your heart soften, because solitude right now is not loneliness. Solitude is freedom. This is an invitation for you to come home, to return to your own heart. Lesson 1. Creating a peaceful inner world. In the teachings of the Buddha, happiness is not something we tirelessly chase outwardly, but a seed that needs to be cultivated silently and patiently in every quiet moment. One of the most precious gifts upon passing the age of 60 is that you finally have enough emotional space and experience to build a tranquil heart for yourself. In your younger years, your mind may have been too crowded by countless overwhelming responsibilities. From raising children and meeting social expectations to career worries or caring for loved ones. Back then, your identity was often tied to how useful you were in the eyes of others. But now, a silent shift is taking place. The noise is beginning to settle. The outside world demands less of you, and that is when the heart speaks up, demanding more attention from yourself. Take a moment to ask your heart, do you truly feel at peace when returning to yourself? If your inner world still feels restless, lost, or unsettled, it does not mean you are wrong, but simply that you have spent too many years caring for everything around you except for your own inner peace. Our mind is like a garden. It will be lush or withered depending on what you plant. For decades, life may have planted seeds of stress, anxiety, and self-criticism. Now you have the opportunity to plant completely new seeds. Buddhism teaches that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of awareness. That is the recognition of the breath, of passing emotions, and of what you truly need, instead of things no longer worth holding on to. Start with the smallest things. Sit quietly with a cup of hot tea, feeling the warmth spread in your palm. Observe the rising and falling rhythm of the breath and realize that you are here, alive, present, and completely worthy of this tranquil moment. Solitude will become serene when you stop running away from your thoughts and start embracing them with compassion. Whether it is sadness, regret, or joy arising, let them be present without judgment. You do not need to fix anything or become someone else. Just learn to sit with yourself as you would sit beside a close friend, patiently, kindly, and lovingly. Then, solitude is no longer a barren void, but a free space for happiness to naturally blossom. Lesson 2. Releasing emotional dependency. One of the biggest obstacles preventing us from enjoying our own company is emotional dependency. It is the underlying belief that happiness comes only from the presence, approval, or attention of someone else. This dependency is often formed over a lifetime, sometimes so quietly that we are completely unaware of it. When we are young, we are taught to measure our self-worth through relationships, achievements, and the roles we take on in society. However, after passing the age of 60, life invites us to shift from seeking external validation to building internal stability. The Buddha teaches a powerful truth that attachment is the root of suffering. But in this context, attachment does not mean love. It means relying on something outside of yourself to feel whole. If you have entered a stage where children have grown, friendships have changed, or relationships have faded, you may feel uncomfortable being alone. This discomfort is not a sign of weakness, but simply the mind adjusting to a new way of living. To truly enjoy solitude, you must gently release the belief that someone else needs to be around for you to feel complete. Imagine happiness like a candle inside yourself. For many years, life may have taught you how to light your candle with a flame from others, but now you are learning how to light it from within. Start by deliberately spending time with yourself, not for isolation, but for self-respect. Treat yourself to small but meaningful rituals: a morning walk, a quiet time for journaling, or a meal that you truly savor. Notice the feeling when you give attention to yourself, not as a last resort, but as a gift. When a painful emotion like loneliness, longing, or uncertainty arises, acknowledge it with compassion. Tell yourself that this feeling is human. It is okay, and I can totally sit with it. The more gently you approach your emotions, the less power they have to manipulate you. Buddhism teaches the art of being friends with yourself. This means talking kindly to yourself, treating your heart with tenderness, and allowing yourself to take up emotional space without guilt. There is something important to keep in mind. You can enjoy your own company even while you still love or miss others. Solitude does not replace connection, but it makes connection stronger. When you learn to be peaceful with yourself, you bring calmness instead of neediness to relationships. You connect because you choose to, not because you fear loneliness. Over time, you will realize a quiet shift. Your own presence begins to bring a sense of comfort. Your thoughts become less threatening. Your heart feels like a true home. This is the beginning of emotional freedom, the beginning of inner happiness, and the beginning of truly enjoying your own company. Lesson 3. Building a mind that is always present, even as life changes. On the journey through life after 60, one of the biggest sources of unhappiness does not come from the present moment. It stems from the mind's tendency to constantly wander to the past or worry excessively about the future. The past pulls you into memories, nostalgia, regrets, or unyielding longing. Meanwhile, the future draws you into fear, uncertainty, or imagined scenarios. While the mind is so busy, the present is the only place where peace can truly exist, still quietly waiting for you to return. The Buddha's teachings liken the mind to a bird that never rests. If not attended to and trained, it will fly in every direction except right here. However, joy truly only happens right here. The true meaning of life only happens right here. And life only takes place right here. Gently ask yourself how many times a day you are truly present with yourself. How many times are you truly here? In the years of youth, presence is extremely difficult because life pulls you in too many different directions. Work, family, mounting responsibilities, and countless nameless tasks leave your mind no time to rest. Now, with more space and time, presence is not only feasible but incredibly rewarding. This is the stage of life where you can finally experience the freedom of simply existing. But presence requires persistent practice. Start with your breath. The breath is the door that leads you out of anxiety and into stillness. When your mind wanders to the past, breathe. When it glides toward the future, breathe. Each breath is a gentle reminder. I am here. I am alive. I am safe. You do not need to force your attention. Just return to the body whenever you realize your mind is drifting. In Buddhism, this technique is called anchoring. The breath is your anchor. Sensations in the body are your anchor. Awareness is your anchor. The more you practice returning to yourself, the more peaceful your inner world becomes. Presence also means giving up arguing with reality. When you resist the natural changes of aging, changes in energy, flexibility, appearance, or habits, your mind becomes tangled in suffering. Buddhism teaches that pain is an unavoidable part of life, but suffering is a choice. Suffering arises when the mind insists that life should be different from what it is currently experiencing. Presence is the art of meeting reality with open hands instead of clenched fists. It is accepting that this is the moment I have, and I will meet it with calmness. And in that acceptance, something wonderful happens. You begin to notice the small joys that were previously hidden by anxiety and a distraction. It is the warmth of the morning sun, the soft feeling of clothes on the skin, the quiet sound of the breath, and the peaceful weight of your own presence. Buddhism calls this the mundane miracle. It is the ability to find wonder in simple moments. The years of youth often chase excitement, but the years of old age discover meaning. Presence also helps heal emotional wounds. When you stay right here, regret loses its grip because regret only lives in the past. Fear loses its power because fear only lives in the future. Only in the present does peace truly exist. You might ask, what if staying in the present brings discomfort? That is perfectly okay. Presence is not about eliminating emotions, but about meeting them honestly. When sadness arises, sit with it the way you would sit beside a tired child. When loneliness whispers, breathe with it instead of pushing it away. When joy comes, let it spread fully without doubting whether it will last. Presence teaches you emotional courage, the ability to stay with whatever arises without abandoning yourself. Lesson 4. Accepting Impermanence, the key to inner freedom. After age 60. The teachings of the Buddha bring a core truth that shapes every aspect of life. That is, all things and events exist within the law of impermanence. Your body changes, your roles evolve, relationships shift, seasons pass, and personal identity dissolves. Nothing keeps its original form. Not your face, not your habits, not your abilities, and not your life circumstances. Impermanence is not a flaw in the design of life. It is the design of life. However, impermanence can be a difficult teacher, especially when we have passed the age of 60. You may feel the absence of those who once filled your days. You may notice your body demands slower rhythms. You may feel the weight of memories that seem distant. You may look in the mirror and feel a disconnection between the age you feel inside and the age reflected outside. But Buddhism brings a liberating truth. You are not the things that are changing. You are the awareness witnessing that change. Everything you see, feel, and experience is like waves rising, peaking, then dissolving. But the ocean beneath the waves remains steadfast. The awareness, the inner person you are, is that ocean. It is always here and will always be here. The body, roles, relationships, and seasons of life all shift. But you remain the witness. When you stop fighting impermanence, you begin to understand life with gentleness. You stop clinging to what is past. Stop grieving for every change. Stop measuring your self-worth by what you used to do or the appearance you used to have. Instead, you begin to ask gentler questions. How to honor who I am now? How to meet this moment with grace? What beauty exists in this stage of life that did not exist before? Impermanence is not a thief. It is a sculptor. It removes what no longer serves you. It shapes your priorities and clarifies what truly matters. In previous decades, you may have been defined by productivity, ambition, or the responsibility of caring for others. Now, life invites you to be defined by presence, wisdom, and authenticity. You no longer have to prove yourself. You no longer have to keep everything stable. You no longer have to rush. Impermanence sets you free. Reflect on nature. No tree complains about losing its leaves in autumn. No flower regrets the petals it has dropped. No ocean grieves for the shifting tide. All of nature moves with change, not against it. You too are a part of nature. When you resist change, suffering arises. When you accept change, peace arises. Buddhism teaches that acceptance is not passivity. It is a strength. It is the choice to stop arguing with reality. It is the choice to let life flow without trying to control what cannot be controlled. Start with small moments of acceptance. When your body asks for rest, listen. When friendships fade, bless and release them. When habits change, allow yourself to adapt instead of clinging to the past. When sadness arises, let it pass like a storm, without believing it defines you. Acceptance does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop expecting permanence from things that were never designed to last forever. The peaceful truth is this: when you accept impermanence, gratitude naturally blossoms. You begin to cherish moments because you understand they are precious. You begin to cherish people because you understand they are temporary companions. You begin to cherish yourself because you understand that life is fragile and wondrous. Impermanence does not come to take your things away. It comes to guide you toward freedom. Freedom from expectation. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the belief that life should remain unchanged. When you embrace change, you embrace life. And after age 60, this acceptance becomes the door to a deeper, quieter, and more sustainable happiness. Lesson 5. Finding joy in simplicity. As you enter the final chapters of life, one of the most powerful Buddhist lessons you can embrace is that happiness is found in simplicity, not stimulation. The modern world teaches us that joy must be loud, exciting, or impressive. But Buddhism teaches something entirely different. Joy is already here, woven quietly into the smallest moments of your day. You do not need to chase it. You just need to recognize it. After age 60, your relationship with joy naturally begins to change. You may no longer desire the intensity or busyness that once energized you. Instead, you feel drawn to peaceful mornings, slower rhythms, familiar comforts, and gentle rituals. This is not a sign of decline. It is a sign of awakening. True joy does not require energy. It only requires awareness. Reflect on the simple moments of your day. The warmth of the sun on your skin. The quiet sound of the kettle boiling. The gentle comfort of the chair supporting your weight. The way the breath settles when you allow yourself to pause. These moments are not small. They are miracles on a microscopic level. When you pay attention to them, your companionship with yourself becomes richer, more comforting, and more meaningful. You begin to realize that solitude is not empty. It is overflowing with life happening subtly all around you. However, many people never learned how to enjoy this simplicity because they spent their lives measuring happiness by external events, productivity, companionship, validation, busy schedules, and constant movement. When those things disappear, they feel lost, not because something is lacking, but because they never learned the art of presence. Buddhism teaches about sukha, a form of deep joy that does not depend on circumstances. It is the joy that arises when the mind relaxes, when the heart opens, And when you stop comparing your life to expectations or previous chapters, to cultivate sukha, start by removing the pressure to make life exciting. You do not need great adventures to feel alive. You do not need a schedule full of commitments. You do not need constant social interaction. What you truly need is permission. Permission to enjoy the gentle rhythm of your own life. Permission to savor the slowness. Permission to find peace in a day that demands nothing of you but your presence. You can deepen this joy by creating small rituals. Rituals become anchors, moments you look forward to, moments that help you enjoy solitude, a daily walk, a cup of tea prepared the same way each morning, a few minutes of mindful breathing, a soft blanket you drape over yourself before reading, a journal where you write one thing you cherish each day. These rituals are not trivial. They are acts of self-companionship. They send a message to your heart. I enjoy being with you. I cherish this time. I choose peace. One of the biggest barriers to enjoying solitude is comparison. Comparing the current life to past versions of yourself, or comparing your life to others. Comparison steals joy by convincing you that what you have is not enough. But Buddhism teaches that the mind becomes peaceful when it stops craving different conditions. Ask yourself, what if this moment was already enough? What if nothing more was needed to feel satisfied? What if the life you are living right now deserves to be fully cherished? When you practice simplicity, you begin to realize something surprising and beautiful. You do not need more. You need less. Less noise, less expectation, less pressure, less self-judgment. What remains is a life that feels spacious, light, and deeply nourishing. And slowly you discover that your own presence is not something to escape. It is something to cherish. You become comfortable with your own thoughts. You enjoy your silence. You feel grateful for the peace that comes from not needing anything external to feel whole. In this way, simplicity becomes the door to happiness, and happiness becomes the door to enjoying your own company. This is the deep, quiet joy that comes with age. Joy that holds firm even as life changes. Joy that comes from within. Lesson 6. Accepting impermanence and making life gentle again. As you move through life after 60, one truth becomes clearer than ever. That is, everything changes. And while impermanence may bring a sense of fear when you are young, Buddhism teaches that with age, it becomes one of your greatest sources of peace. Impermanence does not mean loss. It means flow. It means nothing in your life is frozen, and nothing about you is stuck. Your emotions move. Your thoughts move. Your circumstances move. Even challenges, loneliness, regrets, none of them exist solidly forever. Many people fear aging because they believe the best parts of life are left behind. But this fear only arises when you cling tightly to the idea of what life is supposed to look like to be meaningful. When you stop clinging, you discover something extraordinary. You are still becoming, not declining, but becoming. Impermanence is not life slipping out of your hands. Impermanence is life continuing to shape you, soften you, reveal you. When you embrace impermanence fully, the heavy things you have carried begin to loosen. You realize you do not need to hold on so tightly to past roles, past identities, past mistakes, or past expectations. You do not need to hold tight to people who have drifted away. You do not even need to hold tight to younger versions of yourself. They were true once, but you were not designed to remain unchanged. Reflect on a tree. Each year it lets go of its leaves, not because it is dying, but because it is preparing for new growth. Letting go is an act of wisdom, and so it is with you. You may notice that as you age, certain things feel heavier than before. Sadness, disappointment, old memories resurface. Relationships have changed without your permission. Dreams no longer fit your life as it is now. But this is the lesson Buddhism brings to you. The weight is not in the experience. It is in the resistance. When you stop resisting, the heaviness dissolves. Your heart becomes lighter. Your mind becomes spacious again. You make peace with what has passed and open your arms to accept what exists. Gently ask yourself what you are still holding on to that no longer needs to be carried. What memories are you holding tight to that only cause pain? What expectations of yourself have become too tight, too contemptuous, too outdated? Letting go is not forgetting. It is not dismissing your experiences. It is recognizing that each chapter served its purpose and trusting that the next chapter will too, even if it looks different from what you imagined. Impermanence also teaches you to cherish the present moment with more tenderness. Because when you understand that nothing lasts forever, everything becomes more precious. A quiet cup of tea becomes meaningful. A walk in the morning sun becomes sacred. A small conversation with someone you love becomes a memory you hold in your heart. Even solitude becomes something to cherish instead of escape. When you stop craving for life to return to how it was before, you free yourself to live the life you have right now, fully, gently, peacefully. Impermanence is the great equalizer. It humbles the arrogant, comforts the grieving, softens the stubborn, and frees the imprisoned heart. It reminds you that no feeling lasts forever. Not sadness, not fear, not regret. It teaches you that every season of life has its own wisdom. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this lesson is this. Impermanence gives you the future. It tells you that it is never too late to change, to heal, to start again. You are not stuck in any story. You are not defined by any past. You are not fixed in your identity. You are flexible, responsive, growing, evolving. Right now, at this moment, you can choose a new direction. You can choose joy. You can choose peace. You can choose to release whatever has been heavy on you for years. You can choose to open your heart to life again. You are not at the end of the road. You are simply stepping into a new season. A season with more clarity, more self-compassion, more freedom than previous seasons. Let impermanence soften you. Let it set you free. Let it remind you that life is still unfolding and so are you. Fortunately, you can be happy. Fortunately, you can feel light and your path continues to unfold with grace. Thank you for taking this valuable time with me. If these profound lessons from the Buddha have brought peace, clarity, or comfort to your heart, I cordially invite you to join our community here. Please subscribe to the channel to receive more gentle guidance, spiritual wisdom, and reflective teachings to support your journey. Your presence truly matters. May you always be happy and serene.